Alright, so I'm going to help you do some simple shapes. So I'm going to click New File, start off, and the artboard it doesn't really matter what artboard you use. I'm going to use just an 8.5 by 11 print, and then I'm going to make it landscape. I'm going to title it right here, Simple Shapes, and then I'm going to RGB down here, screen 72 ppi, and I have it in inches, and then I'm going to click create. For this, you're going to actually be using the worksheet that I gave you, so I don't have that worksheet, but we're going to go through the shapes. So the first shape that you have is, I'm new here, it's a medallion. So we're going to start off with the ellipse tool, so you can hit L on your keyboard, or you can come over here, hold down or right click, and go to ellipse tool. And what you're going to do is set your color. I'm going to choose a nice color. I'm going to double click this, and I'm going to choose a greenish color, and I'm going to turn my stroke. I'm going to make that 0. So I have a fill and I don't have any stroke. So you can also, if you have it in classic mode, you can come up here to the top and click none, or in properties you can come over here and click none. So any of those locations. A lot of times I use this one on the left, or I use my properties panel. So I'm going to draw out a circle. Remember, if I squeeze it like that, if I have the X line in the middle, that means it's a perfect circle. Or you can hold down Shift to make sure that it comes out perfect. All right, so I make my circle. You can resize it later. And for this, we're going to do this wavy texture. So try to think of a way that you can do that. If you were to create this wavy texture on your own, you'd probably have to make this have multiple points. So that would be coming over here and clicking points like this, and rounding each of those points off. That would take a long time. So coming like this and then rounding it, and I'm just holding Alt, and that allows me to round it, but that would take a long time to do that, so we're not going to do it that way. And I'm going to get rid of those points that I did. So I was just hitting Control Z to undo it. But what I am going to do is I'm going to come up here to Effects, and I'm going to go down to Distort and Transform, and I'm going to do Zigzag. All right, so it doesn't look like a nice medallion, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to smooth out the corners, and then I'm going to lower this ripple so that it's around 0.6 or 0.01, and I'm going to click OK. So if you notice, I still have that circle rim in there. That circle means that I haven't expanded the shape, and that also means, though, in my properties panel, I can come over here and I can delete that effect. So if I hit delete, it just deletes the effect. I'm going to add it back by hitting Control Z. Or if I want this to be permanent and I'm not going to ever change this, I'm not going to double click on this and say that I want it to look like that or something. If I want to make this permanent, I can come up to my object and go down to Expand Appearance and click on it, and now that's a permanent shape. So if you look over here in the properties, when I click it, the effects is no longer there because I've made that shape permanent. All right, so it depends on what you want to do. For now, I'm just going to leave it as an editable shape, but it's good to have that. All right. So one thing though, if I were to draw another shape, it'll still have that effect applied to it. So if I draw out another one, it still has that effect applied to it. I'd have to come over here and hit delete to get it back to a normal shape. Or on this one, I have to click Object Expand Appearance to get it so that so I have a regular circle again. All right. So let's draw out another circle. I just drag that out, and I'm going to change my color of my stroke. So I'm going to click on my stroke. I'm gonna come and do it over here in my properties. I'm gonna click on my stroke, and I'm gonna change it to another green color, and I'm gonna click on my fill, and I'm gonna change that to 0. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on my stroke panel right here, and I'm gonna say align stroke to inside, and I'm just gonna start hitting my up arrow and filling that stroke all the way in. Alright, so I'm at 71 point. Alright, so I created my stroke. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my properties and click right here, or I can go up to window and go down to stroke, and that brings up my stroke dialog box right there, and I click show options. So either here or here, you can do it in either place. What I want to do is I'm going to click dashed line, right? And I have it set to 12 point, and it creates a nice carnival kind of starburst, right? So I'm just going to click away, and I have my starburst. As you can see, it's still, I have a little bit inside there. If you have a little circle in the middle, that just means that you overlapped your stroke a little bit in the middle, and I just clicked down the point size. So if I keep adding it, again, my stroke starts to show up in the middle. But if I click down, then it gets rid of that center line, and you just have a nice starburst. All right, so the next one I think was a heart. So I'm going to do the heart next. So I'm going to click on my circle, and I'm going to change my color. So I'm going to click on my fill. Let's go with yellow for this, or I'm going to go with yellow. So I'm dragging out. I'm going to hold shift to drag out my circle, and I'm going to turn off my stroke. I don't need that stroke anymore. So I'm going to say stroke 0, 0, and I just check to make sure it's off. So I have stroke 0, and what I want to do is I'm going to click on it with my selection tool, and then I'm going to come over here to my anchor point tool, and I'm going to click right here to make it a straight up, an actual anchor. So if you come up here to the top, it would be this convert selected anchor point to corner. So that's what I did. So if we click on it with our white arrow and we select just the blue bottom right there and then click convert, it does the same thing. Or we can, I'm going to go back, Control Z, or we can click on it with our black arrow, go to our anchor point tool, and then click on that last anchor point at the bottom, and that does the same thing. So it does that. And then I'm going to go back to my selection tool. So you can hit V on your keyboard, or actually I want to be on my direct selection tool. And I'm just going to drag this down so that I have it like this, right? So it creates a little pin type look. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it just enough. All right, so imagine that I'm going to have 2 of these, and we're going to make a heart from this. So I'm going to rotate it, and then I can duplicate this using my duplicate tool. So let's see, where is it? Reflect tool. So it's O on your keyboard, and so I'm going to hit Control C and Control F to paste it in front. So what I did, so I have 2 of them. I'll show you that I have 2 of them. So I have 2 of them. But what I did was I went Edit, Copy, and then Edit, Paste in front. And then I'm going to use the reflection tool right here to just drag it and hold Shift, and I'm going to reflect it. And then I'm going to drag it till it meets the other one. So my heart doesn't look like a heart. I moved it a little bit too much. So let's do it again. I'm going to Control C, Control F, and then I'm going to Shift reflect it. All right, and that makes it the heart a little bit better. So now I have 2 separate petals, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of them by dragging a box with my V. So I hit V on my keyboard and I drag a box over them. And I'm going to go down to my properties panel, my Pathfinder. So it's right here, or you can go to Window and Pathfinder, and that opens another one up. And what I want to do is I want to unite these. So I'm going to combine them together to make my heart. Right? So I have a heart. Next one we're going to do is a gear. So I'm going to go to my my tool. You can hit L on your keyboard to get the ellipse tool. I'm going to choose a color. This one I'm going to go with a little bit darker color because we have a lot of light colors here already. And I'm going to drag out a little circle. Again, if you see that X in the middle, that means it's a perfect circle. And then I'm going to click V on my keyboard, or you can go to the top here and click on your selection tool. And for this, I want you to hold down your Option key or your Alt key. If you're Option on a Mac and Alt on a